Where do you think most of the power lies in the music industry right now? And what do you think power for the artist and for the consumer looks like or could look like in the future?
These are very good. This is a very, very good question. I always try to educate artists on this. The power for me has always lied with the fans. It's always in the audience. It's always in the audience. I think it will forever be in the audience because as an artist, you have talents and then you meet people that can work with you to refine it, develop you, invest in you, train you, put you out there on billboards, all of these things. But if there's no
Mm-hmm.
audience for all of that, it's powerless. So if the DSPs are looking for an audience, the artist is looking for an audience, the live agent is setting up your tours and shows is looking for an audience. For me, the power still dominantly still remains with the audience, the fans. All technology is doing is just helping you scan more places, more people to connect to an audience that believe in what you've created or that experience you want to put out of the shows.
Now, easy. Same question to you.
Yeah, I think I, lie with Tega on that one. Uh, about the audience. But I'd like to say what, you asked the second part of the question was, what do I think, that power is to, how do I think it will look like? And for my world, when I look at like Alex's world, I kind of see the future, and for me, the future of that power to the audience is the point where my fans, 98% of my fans, can actually go on streaming platforms to stream music from their favorite artists in across Africa, and that happening where fans in Africa would then connect to the Africans in diaspora, and then we'll see the true audience power in shifting things and in telling the story of our music, our culture. And I think what we're seeing is just 2% of what is happening on my side of the world, and that's what the future looks like for me.
Mm-hmm. Tuma, same question. How would
Yeah,
power
I
look like
actually
for
I
the
want to take
artist?
the answer and take it to the next step,
Mm-hmm.
and which is the co-conspirator when it comes to power, and that's revenue, earnings. I think the power is in
Mm-hmm.
revenue. I think a lot of what's happening is going to happen anyway. It'll grow with investment, and it will grow with resources being thrown on it to kind of highlight the potential. In tech, they like to use the word scale, and scale is
Mm-hmm.
basically when something like really gets really big, can it like just handle. So the audience is the most important, and the energy to the audience. But after that, it's the earnings or the revenue. You know.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
where the power is. That's
And
where the real power is. When it gets those little papers, and you're oh, that's where the real decisions are being made.
mm-hmm. And then on that note, Lex, what would you say power looks like for the artist and for the consumer in the future of this globalization of music?
Demand for more product, right? And for the accessibility of that product. So I think, and to the point from the beginning, is consumers will drive the whole equation because the consumer is what generates the revenue. Consumers is what will allow the platforms to expand their business and therefore give them more accessibility. And then the expanding of the platforms will allow labels and artists to have a bigger opportunity to reach more of a global audience, which in turn will all lay back to what Tuma said about revenue. It all comes back to that. But I do think as this thing moves forward and we continue to drive content, I think the power is really going to come down to what is too much access, what is too much information. Because I will say that there's also one bit of negative to everything that's happening is that it's too much. So as much as it is incredible because we're in the discovery stage of something, like anything else in our world, too much of something is also gets to a point where it's extremely hard for artists, to get noticed sometimes, because there's so many amount of songs that are releasing out. There's so many amount of content that's getting put out. But I think that at the end of the day, that the power drives on the consumer's desire for that content, and that could shift, that can grow, that can scale. Um, so it ultimately depends on how you're going to see it. But I think the more and more people want everything here. The more information they can get here, the more amount of content they're going to get here. I mean, pretty much as you see with what's going on with even this live content here, I think more and more and more you're going to find ways to just feed the drug of the phone and the accessibility of I want things now and I want it right now, and as that grows and as that demand grows, every business from the platforms all the way down to the artists are going to continue to scale up. But it's also going to create, I think, too much amount of content where it really is going to start becoming harder and harder to build superstardom or major level awareness, because the amount of content that we're receiving, I mean, it's insane amount of songs, and you see it. I mean, we as a label, put out allow the music to be the content driver and kind of the profit driver back to us. But it's even with Latin artists, like I tell my staff here all the time, I mean, there is so much good music. That's no longer the it thing. Before it was like, if your music was just so much better, or your presentation, because the labels have so much more money to give you presentation. But now it really is everything else. Like, it's really how the artist personally connects to their fan base. It's really about the opportunities and the collaborations of relationships, building the global, whether it's Afrobeat and Latin, or Latin and Anglo, or whatever, or K-pop and Latin. Like, it really is those collaborations that are going to continue to bring awareness to the new artists. But yeah, to kind of round it all up, power will always lie with the consumer in any business.
Mm-hmm.